welcome and welcome back. My name is Rhea. I live in Glasgow with my wife Karina and my two cats Kiska and Nanook. If you've been here before, you will know that usually I only make knitting videos. However, recently sewing has kind of taken over my life. So about 5 weeks ago now, I decided to make the Folkwell Quilt by Chosen Sew, and I decided to film the whole process. So this is going to be a sew-along type video. There's some talky bits, there's some shots of just me sewing, so hopefully there's a good mix of different things. It's going to be a long one, but hopefully a good one. So yeah, strap in. I have just filmed the reveal of the final quilt and I couldn't be happier with the final outcome. So I hope you will enjoy watching me sew this whole big quilt that took me 5 weeks. So yeah, let's jump straight to day one. So it is day 2. I didn't film my face yesterday because I didn't quite feel like it, but I cut everything out. I think I filmed me doing the first 2 colours, and then I just did the rest off with camera because it was literally the same and it took quite a long time, so it would have been quite a lot of hyperlapse footage and stuff, but yeah, so all of that's done. I also went back quite late at night and I drew the lines on, I think these are called 8 at a time half square triangles. I could be wrong. I've never actually followed a quilt pattern before, so this is my first time hearing about all of like the abbreviations and stuff, so yes, that's all new to me. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's quite confusing. Like I can follow like a certain pattern for like I've made really complicated quotes and stuff like that, but for some reason there's just so many abbreviations and numbers and all of that, which is just, it's quite overwhelming. But I think I've managed to understand it and I've cut everything out. So yeah, now it's just so I think there's 56 squares total, so I will be, these are the 2 colours for the half square triangle, I think that's what it's called. I'm literally just going to sit down and just churn it out, listen to Lord of the Rings, and yeah, so that's the first thing I'm going to do today. I have no idea how long this is going to take at all. We shall see. I will hyperlapse it and all of that, but yes, I don't even think I'll hyperlapse all of it because I have a feeling this is going to take hours. So yeah, we'll even see if I finish this today, but I'm hoping that I will. I'm quite fast. My sewing machine is quite fast as well. So yeah, let's go. Okay, so I've decided to just pin as many squares as I can and then go on the sewing machine because doing everything in batches at the same time just makes it go a lot faster. So I'm going to pin as much as I can and then I'll go and I'll just put it all through the sewing machine. So it took me about 2 hours to sew all of them, but I actually felt a lot quicker than that, but apparently it's been 2 hours, so it actually went by pretty fast and I'm happy. I think it went quite well. The whole batch thing definitely was the way to go, so I'll be doing that from now on. And yes, I'm gonna have a snack and then I'm going to get my cutting board out, my rotary cutter, and I'm gonna cut all of these up into little squares, press them open, and then cut them to size. And I think that that's gonna take a long time. So yeah, I'm gonna have a break and then set everything up to do that. And yes, I wonder how long that will take because I feel like it's going to take a long time. Yes, let's go. Despite the fact I look exactly the same as yesterday, it is actually a new day. And yesterday I managed to finish all of the half square triangles. I think it took me about 3 hours to iron all of them because there was, I think maybe something like 430, I think, something like that. That's how many they are. I did not trim them down to size. I can't even really look at them anymore, to be honest. So today I'm going to move on to sewing these two together. I can't remember what the abbreviation is of this, but I am going to sew, I think you need 2 of these per like square. I'm going to sew 2 together, I'm going to trim everything, and then I'm going to sew everything together. I guess I'm going to sew everything together so that I can see what it's going to look like at the end, and so I have that motivation of like, this is where I'm going with all of this, because it was quite a lot just to like churn it out and be like, there's no end to this, so I need to know that the end is worth it, essentially. So I'm going to read the instructions for this bit, sew 2 up, press everything, get all the little other squares out, and I'm going to sew up a square. So yes, Kiska, do you want to say hello? She's being very helpful and getting in the way of everything, but okay, let's go. Okay, so I thought I had majorly messed that up, but it turns out I was sewing down the wrong edge. So I have now seam ripped and sewn it properly. So now I'm going to, oh, and I pressed it. So now I'm going to get the cutting board out, cut it to size, cut the little ones to size, and then I'm going to start putting the square together. Okay, so immediately after cutting those to size, I thought I could get away with not getting, it's a 4.5 inch square. I thought I could get away with not buying a 4.5 inch template, but I don't think I can do that. That is like quite complicated to do it by hand and using this because of the lines, and there's not a middle line, and trying to add it all up because it needs to be pretty precise and have a 1/4 inch seam allowance here, but all of this needs to be centered, and that is going to take far too long and be far too complicated for that. So immediately I am going to buy a template. So yes, I'm going to do that now and then go back and trim these little ones and then put it all together. Okay, so I've sewn the whole square together now and I'm so proud of it. I'm actually very glad that I went ahead and made up a whole square, because now I can visualise every step and how it's meant to come together and stuff. So now I've done one, I think I'm going to find it easier to find all the individual steps that I can just repeat, have all those squares together that I need to then go on to the next step and repeat, if that makes sense. So yeah, as you see, maybe you could have saw I had to change colour threads all the time, which took a while, but ultimately this actually didn't take too long to come together, so that's good. A couple of things, I've not really spoke about techniques and stuff that I'm using, or things that I'm making sure that I do. So it's a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but also because there are so many points that you have to add up, and really trying to be precise, which is why you saw I sewed a lot from this side, because then I can see where the two colours come together, so I'm not cutting off that point. I have done it in places, but overall it's actually pretty neat for me. I think I can't remember what, is it like an Ohio star or something like that, one that has like lots of points, and was nowhere near as neat as this, so yes, at least it's an improvement from my last quilt. But so yeah, I'm making sure all the points add up like that. I'm also making sure that I press the seams towards the dark side, just so that it doesn't show up, because I don't know if you can see, I'll do a close up anyway, where I've pressed it to like the light side, you can actually see the seam allowance, which is fine. I'm not too bothered, but I do want it to try and be as neat as possible, so I have been doing that. Another thing is that I've been using a 2mm length, or at least I have it set to 2 on my machine. I assume that's 2mm, but I think on some machines it doesn't actually marry up with millimeters, but anyway, I've got it on a 2, and I usually sew on like a 2.5, but because you're not back stitching, I wanted it to be shorter to make sure the thread stays in, and yeah, it's not been coming apart when I've been handling all the little pieces. It seems pretty sturdy, so I'm very happy with that. I think that was the right choice. Yeah, I can't really think about much else, just making sure I'm matching thread where I can, and then yeah, all those little bits. I'm waiting to trim this to the final size once I've done all of them, just so that yeah, I'm making sure that they're really gonna match up in the end. But I can't remember how many I've got to do of these. Well, it must be 56, or no, half of that, I don't know. Anyway, quite a few, but yeah, so now I'm gonna figure out the steps that I can just repeat. I think I might sew up all of the middle ones, because I can do that, and then I got the 4.5 template, which is coming tomorrow. I don't know when tomorrow, but I'm definitely gonna wait until that arrives to trim, because I think I did a pretty good job. But I mean, this one adds up and it's a nice point, this one not so much, and I think I'm not too bothered about it being super neat. I kind of like things being super neat on clothes, but for quilts I'm not too bothered, but I would like it to be as good as I can be bothered to do. So yes, if I can, I want it to be relatively precise. Another thing that I do with quilts is I don't pre-wash anything, which one helps like when you work with the actual fabric, because it's still, you know, it's still got things in from when it's been woven, and it's kind of a bit more crisper than if I was to wash all of that out. So yeah, I never pre-wash also because, and I never pre-wash the batting or anything like that, because I really like the wrinkled effect it has when you wash it for the first time and things do shrink. I really love the look of that, and I love the look of hand quilting because I want people to know that I've made it, and I think those little things make it look handmade by me. So yeah, I think that's everything. I'm very happy with how the colours have worked. I do prefer the original colourway that she did, but I got this fabric from Pound Fabrics. It's 100% cotton. It was £3.50 a metre, so yes, very affordable, which is why I went with them, because quilts can be so expensive and I don't have that kind of money to spend like hundreds of pounds on it. So I was limited to their colourways, and this is as close as I could get it, and I think it works, and I think once I have them all together it'll have the same impact, because I really liked, it was one of the things that drew me to this pattern was the colours. So yeah, I am still happy with what I went with, and I think the overall impact is going to be good. So yes, I think happy with that. Gonna go and sew all of these together, which might take a bit longer than when I was doing the 8 at a time squares, just because you do really have to sort of fiddle and make sure that they're kind of lined up. Not that I didn't have to do with that, but it was literally 2 squares, whereas this is 2 different shapes on top of each other, making sure you've got the 1/4 inch at the start and all of that. Anyway, so yes, on to batch sewing these squares. Oh, I do really like the repetitive, but sometimes it does get a bit too repetitive. Like when I was ironing these tiny squares, I actually, like, my eyes were going wavy and I was just like zoning out, but I had to be quite precise because I really wanted, yeah, gosh, it was quite a lot. But yeah, I think I'm just waffling now because I'm like, it's dawning on me how much work these squares are going to be, but at least it's less than these squares, so there's that. I'm going to put Lord of the Rings back on. I'm listening to the audiobook, and yeah, I've only ever watched the films, but I can't remember where I heard somebody was listening to the audiobooks that the person that plays Gollum reads, and they said it was really good. So I thought, I want to read the books. I like audiobooks over reading just because, I don't know, I just find it easier to consume that way. And the voice acting is amazing. And some audiobooks that I've read are not good. And I think I'm going to really struggle going to another audiobook after this, just because his voice acting is so good. But yeah, anyway, I'm really enjoying that, and I can just go into that world, go into the quilting world and just zone out of life, because yeah, that would be great right now. So let's do it. I'm putting it off, let's just do it. I believe this is now day 4 of making the quilt. Yesterday I finished off making these squares. Quite enjoyed it. I think because I know that you actually do cut this one down, so you don't need to be really precise. I'm still waiting on the template for this arriving. I think it's almost 3:30 and it's still not here. And I did want to cut these out today because it's quite satisfying, but instead I am going to sew together, batch sew some of these together because they go at the top and bottom of the little motif. And I need to do 72 of them in total. I've already made it one square, so I just need to do 70 now. So that's still quite a lot. Yeah, last night I ended up doing, so ideally I would have liked to completely square off all of these, but I just couldn't. I think I started doing it and I was really cutting it to be precise, 90-degree angles, and it was just taking forever. And not only that, it was really hurting me in terms of like my neck and my arms and my back and stuff. And honestly, it's not worth breaking my body just to have super crisp squares. So yeah, I just decided no, I'm not going to do that. I just cut off the little things, like the little triangles that sort of poked out the sides. And even doing that, just sitting there cutting all of the squares, I swear it took like 2 hours. So I'm glad I just went with that, and I can sort of navigate the little lumps and bumps as I'm sewing it, and hopefully it will kind of square off as I sew them together. So yes, that is all that I did yesterday. So I'm going to go and I'm going to sew those together, 70. I feel like when I was sewing these, I thought that I counted all of like the squares and the templates that I cut out really well. Apparently I did not. I had like 10 few of these than I needed, so I had to go and cut some out and then go back. And by that time it was like past 8 o'clock at night, and I don't like sewing that late because I'm not quite sure how much the neighbours can hear of me sewing, but I assume that they can hear me. So yeah, I wanted to stop sewing at that point. So that's all I got done yesterday. Yes, let's go and sew those teeny tiny little squares together. So I've sewn everything, all of these little bits together now. It didn't take too long, but some of the squares were really quite different sizes. So some of them are quite, I'm gonna have to go back and trim some of them I think, but at least it meets up at the corner. Some of them are better and they kind of add up everywhere. So yes, I'm not massively bothered about them being a bit off. To be honest, I quite like it, and it's like what I was saying yesterday, it's going to be as good as I can be bothered to make it, and I think the overall effect is still going to be a good effect, if that makes sense. So now that I've done all of these, I've got to sew 2 triangles here and then 1 bigger triangle here. So, but I need to cut the squares into those triangles, so I'm going to go get the squares, cut them into triangles, and then I'm going to, hello, and then I'm going to finish these bits, which, let me grab. So this is the section that I'm making, hopefully you can see that there. These are the 2 squares here, and then I've got to add 1 section here and here, and then 1 section here. So it's this little triangle that I'm making, and then obviously you need 1 for each end. So yes, I'm going to do that. And I think, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm still waiting on template for this, but it says it should be here any minute now, so hopefully by the time I've done that it'll be here and I can cut those out. That's probably all I'm going to manage to do today, I would think. So yeah, I'm excited that these little bits are going to be coming together, because I feel like, you know, the motivation is getting more and more. So yeah, let's go, let's do these 2 little triangles. Yes. My ruler came, my template came. So I'm actually not going to cut these out just now, because I want to get as much sewing done as I can before I want to stop for the day, before it's too loud. So yes, I'm going to try and sew as much as I can of these little triangle sections, and then I can do a big trim session at the end of the day when I need to be quiet and that won't make any noise. So yeah, I'm glad that's came. I'm very excited to trim. It's going to be a lot easier with an exact template compared to using that big ruler. Yeah, it wasn't. I am not cutting 72 4.5-inch squares using that, because that's just crazy. So yeah, hopefully this will make my life a lot easier. So it's now day 5 and we have completed the full circle of my comfy t-shirt rotation. So yesterday I managed to add both of the little triangles to each side of the little motif bit that I was working on. That's all I got done sewing wise yesterday, and then I went back and I trimmed those. And I also trimmed the squares using the template that came, and it was actually so much easier with the template. I'm so glad I got that. It was actually fun to do. I took a little video, it was really late at night, but I took a video of what the template looked like on when I was cutting them out, because it had like a border line thing inside, and that showed the 1/4-inch seam allowance, so I was able to put the template in such a way where I knew what would be the final look of the square, one side sewn it all with the 1/4-inch seam allowance around the sides. So yeah, I feel like it's gonna up my quilting game in terms of, yeah, it's made it a lot easier for me to be a bit more precise and to get the crisp points. So yeah, that's all that I did yesterday, and now I'm going to finish adding the bigger triangle to those little motifs, because I'm doing a clicking transition on those, so hopefully the next clip you'll see is me clicking. I'm trying not to be too self-deprecating these days, so I know it's not great, and I'm not great at like technology stuff, but yeah, it's still fun to do, and I like to see the very quick progress that is actually taking hours and hours and hours and hours. Yeah, it's very satisfying to see it condensed into like 2 seconds. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and finish those bits, finish the clicking transition, and then sew together the 2 bigger squares, because that creates a rectangle for the middle, and we'll see where that takes me in terms of if it gets too late for me to sew on the machine tonight. But yeah, we shall see. I'm very excited. I feel like it's all coming together. So yeah, is now about 20 to 8 I think, so it's time for me to stop sewing on the machine because it's a bit too late to make noise. But I actually ended up doing quite a lot today. Yeah, I'm finding actually that sewing on the machine is like the fastest step of the process in terms of like the ironing and the cutting. Actually takes quite a long time. I would say that the ironing is the longest part maybe, but yeah, all that to say, I did actually get a lot of sewing done today, so yes, I have everything spread everywhere. There's just so many little bits, but yeah, I ended up finishing this off, this little section, which is gonna be this section and then one on the bottom as well. So I finished those. I also finished sewing together these, which you would have seen, and I also ended up sewing together some of these, so these, and then tonight I'm going to press them open, and then tomorrow I'm going to sew these sections together to get the long strip, and then tomorrow I should, halfway through the day, I should have all the elements to really start putting the squares together. So tomorrow, I'm hoping tomorrow I'm going to finish up the day having some squares made maybe. So yeah, that's exciting. It's fun to see. Oh my gosh, Kiska, that was a big jump. It's exciting to see all the little parts coming together. I'm very excited. So the other thing that I did today actually was by thread, and I've kind of been putting it off, slash I've been doing a lot of reading, because it's actually really complicated and all of the numbers and the different size threads and stuff is complicated. I really would have liked to see, I would have liked to have seen them all in person, and you know, kind of get an idea of how thin or how thick each one of them is, but unfortunately it's just not an option. There's nowhere around here that I think would even sell any of these things. So yeah, I did a lot of reading, watching videos. In the end I went with, I think, a size 20 thread. A lot of people like on Reddit and stuff were saying they used a size 8 thread, and I think that would be too thick. I did watch a few videos of people using a size 8 and I just thought I don't want to be that visible. So I ended up with a size 20. I should say for the quilt, I am going to put the whole quilt top together. I've got the cotton wadding to go in the middle, and then the backing fabric is just going to be this same cream fabric, so nothing exciting, but so when I've done all of that, sandwiched it together, I'm going to go down and essentially quilt around each square, machine quilt around each square, I mean, just using my machine, just so that, I know because she's very talkative right now, just so that I have kind of that security of, I know there's at least some, you know, machine quilting holding it all together, and then I'm going to go back and hand quilt a lot of it. But yeah, so it's my first time actually hand quilting. I've done quilts, all of the quilts that I've made I've actually quilted on the machine, so yeah, I've never actually hand quilted, so I'm excited to do that because I'm excited to just sit on the couch and be able to do something like in the evening and stuff. I know. So I ended up getting a cream which will match that back, the main fabric, but I also ended up getting a red because I do not want the white thread to be visible on the on the coloured bits, because I think it would detract from the overall impact. So I did get a red, and I'm unsure what kind of quilting I'm going to do in the red parts, because I don't want it to be too visible on the wrong side. I'm not bothered about the backside looking too pretty, but I also don't want it to look too unfinished and weird and awkward. So I was kind of thinking about doing the little like quilting knots in maybe some parts around here, the ones where it's actually just a knot and you cut the ends in such a way where, you know, you don't cut all the way to the fabric. There are some like ends still visible. That's hard to explain, but yeah, I'm thinking of doing that, but we shall see. I have not yet got any binding because I kind of want to get that in person. I know that a fabric shop in Glasgow sells that, so I want to go and buy that in person, and I also need some more cream thread because I feel like I'm gonna run out of that. But yeah, so all very exciting. Hopefully I should come out of tomorrow having a few squares put together maybe, depending if I'm going to go full on doing small sections. It's been a long day. I feel like I'm not explaining things properly, but yes, I'm excited. Kiska's excited. Are you excited? I actually think she's asking to be fed. She is. So yeah, yes, we're all excited. We're all excited. It's now the end, kind of ish, of day 7, and I've officially put together all of the blocks. So yesterday I did a bit more batch sewing. I got all the little bits ready to go to then put the squares together. Didn't take too much footage of that just because I felt like I'd already done quite a lot of time lapses of my batch sewing. But this morning I finished all of the squares. So they are now done. I still have to go back and trim them, but before I do that, I really want to lay it out and see what the final quilt is going to look like, just because I'm too excited to wait. So I'm going to go and find somewhere big enough to lay all of these out and see what it's going to look like, and then I'll go back and trim them all to size, and then yeah, then it's just sewing all of them together and then onto the quilting. Also, I did have to buy some of these which are like safety pins that are bent, so that I can put the quilt together. So yeah, on to the final stages of sewing together the quilt top. Oh. The quilt top is officially sewn together and finished and pressed and ready to be quilted. Yes, it feels very exciting to have the quilt top done. It ended up coming together pretty quickly in the end, but it was a lot of fabric to manoeuvre and to iron and all of that. But we got there in the end, and yeah, I feel like it's a little bit bigger than what I was expecting. I think the final measurements are meant to be 72 inch by 72 inch, and I bought my wadding in 72 inch by 90 inch, so I hope it fits. If not, I can cut some from the end and then put it on the side and all of that, so it's not a big deal if it doesn't fit, but yeah, I hope it does. So now I need to make the sandwich. The quilt is too big to fit on my table, but I'm gonna try and do it on the table anyway. If it's too tricky, I can move to the floor, but hopefully I can do it on the table. I watched a video of somebody doing it on the table, and yeah, she managed, so we'll see how that goes. I'll do a nice time lapse of me struggling. So yeah, on to the quilting. it's now the next day. Last night I did manage to get the quilt pinned together. I decided to not even try to do it on the table because it just wasn't happening. So I laid it all out on the floor and I really struggled to get the wrinkles out, but I think it's good enough. So yeah, I managed to do that. It took forever and it was quite labour intensive. It was a lot, and today I really feel it. I don't know if I'm coming down with something or if it's just exhaustion, but I feel like my whole body is inflamed. So I'm going to take it easy today, but I do want to get the quilting done on the machine today. So yeah, we'll see how I feel after that. I'm hoping it's not going to take too long, but it is a lot of fabric to wrestle under the machine. So yeah, we'll see if I manage to do that because I am just so tired today after yesterday. But yeah, so on to the machine quilting. That actually didn't take too long at all, and it's starting to feel like a quilt now. Just when it was pinned you could tell that the layers were separate, but now that I've just done that little bit of quilting it's starting to feel like the one bit of fabric. I tried to show it on a video of what the back looks like because you can really see what I've done, but the squares in between the quilting lines are quite big, so obviously I've got to fill that with the hand quilting because otherwise, you know, you can't have the lines too far apart because the wadding will go funny and all of that. So I think that is it for all of the machine sewing this is gonna get. So I can now put the machine away and then turn to hand quilting. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm quite nervous. I got, I'll show you everything I got for the hand quilting because I got quite a few different needles because, yeah, I wasn't quite sure what needle to get, and I'll show the thread as well. I don't think I've shown that yet. So yeah, I'll show that now and I'll talk through the ideas that I'm having. So these are all the things that I got for the hand quilting. So first of all, I got the DMC Baby Blue, and this is 50 grams, 100% cotton, and it's 733 meters. And this is a 20 thickness, and then this is the only colour one I got, which is a Sheep G's Maxi Super Rush, and 50 grams is 280 meters, so it is thicker. I think this is a 12 thickness. So my idea was to obviously use this one and go around the cream sections. I'm not sure what kind of patterns I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to go around the outside of all these bits, and then obviously these bits, that's going to be quite a big bit of no quilting in here, so I'm going to have to figure that out. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do there, but for the red sections, obviously I'm going to go around here with the cream, but that does still mean there's this big bit with no quilting in. So my idea was to use the red and do a little star in the middle, just like that in the middle, because obviously the red's going to show on the back, So if I do little stars, it'll be lots of little red stars on the back, which I think will look nice. It'll kind of look like a pattern, but I do think I am also gonna have to go around the outside, just with a normal like stitch, which obviously means that's gonna be visible from the back side, but I still think like lots of little diamonds with little stars in the middle is still gonna look nice on the back side. Like, I'm not too bothered about what the back will look like, but I do want it to look intentional. But I do still think that that's gonna be fine. So yeah, that's my idea just now. And the needles I got 3 different kinds of needles because honestly I really had no idea. I got all of them in sizes 3 to 9, and yeah, so they're all different types. So this is an embroidery needle by DMC, and it did say that it was specifically for their things, and obviously this is DMC, so I don't know, I just thought I'd try it. But honestly, I don't know, I'm gonna have to try all of these out because I think that these sizes are way too thick. These, I don't know, and they're also really short as well. All of them are shorter than what I was hoping. I mean, these are specifically quilting ones, and these are so short. I mean, it's not even this, it's just so short, like, it's just not usable at all. I'm not even going to try and use those ones because I just know that they're not the ones. These are the longest ones. These are straw needles, but again, I don't know about the thicknesses, and it is still pretty short as well. I'm just gonna have to try it out and see what I think, and then maybe go and buy needles in person if I can find somewhere that sells different needles in Glasgow. I don't have high hopes for that, but we shall see. I think I just need to dive in, give it a go, see how I feel, and then yeah, go from there, because I do want to enjoy this process. So yeah, if I need to go out and buy different needles, or if I need to buy any specific thimbles for it, I do have a metal one to push the needle through, but I have seen people wear like silicone ones to grip the needle and pull it through, and I feel like I might need that. I was literally just going through my things trying to find a thimble, and I looked in my little needle bag and I found these which I did not know I had. So they're both, these are straw and this is milliner's, and they seem to be pretty, I mean, these seem to be what I'm looking for. These are definitely longer. I think these are a bit longer too, or maybe not actually, but yes, we will give these a go as well. So we've got quite a few to try, which is good. However, the bad news is that I can't find my thimbles, and I've no idea how I've lost them all because Karina got me loads. We have just moved, so I'm wondering if maybe they got thrown out, put in the wrong bag and thrown out when we were moving. But yeah, that's pretty bad. I'm gonna have to hunt more or buy more because I definitely need them. My immediate reaction to that is, oh my god, this is gonna kill me. I have hypermobility and it especially affects my fingers. So I do need to wear these ring splints if I'm doing anything that involves using pressure on my finger joints. And I'm having to really splint up here because that was just killing me. And then it was so hard to pull through, I had to get my pliers. And even that is tricky. I feel like I definitely need the silicone thimbles, and I definitely need the hard thimble for this finger. But I'm going to do a real-time so that you can see my struggle here, because that is just so hard. So let's start here. Let's do this bit. This isn't going through a seam, so maybe this is going to be nicer to do. Try not to put too much tension on it. Okay, let's have a go where there's not a seam. I bet that's easier. Okay, it's definitely easier, but okay. Oh, it's just so tricky. Okay. Right, that was definitely easier. But going through that seam section, and I feel like most of it will be going through seams. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. This needle, so far, it's okay. I wish it was thinner. And honestly, I wish I had gone for a thinner thread just so that I could use a thinner needle. But you live and you learn. I don't know if I'm gonna go back and purchase the thinner thread. I feel like I'm gonna persevere just because money. I've already spent money on this one, so okay, so it's easier, I'm finding, to go through a part that isn't a seam, but I mean all of these bits are seams. That's not a seam, that's good. But I feel like so much of what I want to do will be going through seams, so it's a little bit disheartening, but at least I'll have some relief. Right, I'm going to go around a few more bits, and then yeah, I think I'm gonna have to plan a trip out to town tomorrow and see if I can buy some thimbles. Yeah, I also need to buy binding as well, so I have to do that at the same time. Right, I'm gonna continue with this and I'll come back and I'll tell you how I feel after I've done a bit more. and it's been about 2 weeks since I last filmed anything, which means it's taken me 2 weeks to do all of this hand quilting, which is a lot longer than what I was expecting to spend on this part, but I'm so glad because I've enjoyed it so much in the end. I finished it last night and I was so sad to finish it, but I have already bought everything for my next quilt, which is going to include a lot more hand quilting. So yeah, that just goes to show how much I've enjoyed this part of the process. So yes, I wanted to come on and do a little bit of a reflection just after I finish this part, because there's a couple of things I want to talk about. One of which is that I've enjoyed it so much, and I know my first impression was me going, oh my god, how am I going to do this? So yeah, I did it. And in the end, yeah, I really found my rhythm, and I got, you know, my system in place. I knew what I was doing, and so yeah, one thing that was key was pliers. At some points I was going through like 8 layers of fabric, so I couldn't pull it by hand. You had to use the tweezers, and it worked so well using them. And yeah, after I'd done my first couple of squares, I realised how hard it was in my hands, and I couldn't find the thimbles that Karina got me anywhere. So yeah, I was looking at different kind of thimbles to get, and in the end I kind of thought that a leather thimble would be sort of the best for what I was after, but I wanted to buy it second hand just because it's leather. So I put a little plea out on Instagram, and I'm so thankful because Tracy, thank you so much, she sent me her thimble as a gift, and yes, so thank you so much because it really saved my fingers doing the hand quilting. In the end I put it on my ring finger. I know you're usually meant to put it on your middle finger, but just the way I was sewing, I pushed the needle with my ring finger. So yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, definitely pliers and a thimble is going to really help you. And yeah, thickness of thread, I know I was talking about that, and I was quite worried that the hand quilting was going to be a bit too visible, because I didn't want it to like take away from like it's quite a striking, bold visual and I didn't want to like take away from that. Kiska, come here, come here, come here. Anyway, sorry, Kiska is going crazy. Yes, I was worried that the hand stitching was going to take away from that, but in the end I was doing all the work and I kept stepping back and I was like, you really can't see this at all from a distance. I know, Kiska. Close up you can definitely see it, so yeah, I'm glad about that. But in my next quilt I want it to be visible, I want it to be part of like the visual overall appearance of it. So yeah, I think it was a 20 thickness for the cream one, and it was a 12 thickness for the red, and for the red, you know, that was thick. I had to use the pliers for every stitch for that, just because the needle had to be thicker and also the thread was thicker, so there was just too much resistance to do it by hand. So yeah, my next quilt I've chosen a 40 thread, which is the thinnest, and I think that is traditionally like the thickness of hand quilting thread that you should use. So yeah, I think that is going to make it so much easier, and I'm planning on how I want to do it. I don't want to hand quilt through any seams because I press my seams to the dark side of the fabric. So yeah, I've done a couple of squares already with my scrap fabric to see how that's going to work, and I've managed to sort of press it in such a way where I'm going to be able to not hand quilt over seams, which I think is going to make it so much easier because those are the parts that really were straining my hands. So it's quite funny because at the beginning, like I was saying, it was hurting my hands quite a lot, and now towards the end it was hardly hurting my hands at all, and I think it's because I built up those muscles, and I hadn't realised that I was doing it for 2 weeks, so yeah, it kind of makes sense that now I have those muscles, but by the time I do my next quilt I don't think I will anymore. So yeah, that's a bit annoying, but yes, those are all my reflections about hand quilting. I would definitely recommend it. And now I am gonna go right now and finish off this quilt. So I know I was saying that I wanted to get bias binding for it, but I've changed my mind and I'm just going to use the excess backing fabric to fold over and hand stitch down. Just because it's already there, it means I don't need to buy any more materials. So yeah, and quilting is expensive, so I'd rather just use what I've got. And I'm going to hand sew that down just because I think it's a bit cleaner, and I've already spent all this time making it. I want it to be, perfect. So I'm going to hand quilt that down. I also want to squeeze as much time out of this as possible because I enjoy it so much, and also it's going to be a while until I'm going to be able to do it again. Just because I've got to wait for the fabric to come for my next quilt, and then I've got to do all of the machine sewing for that quilt. So yeah, I'm guessing it's going to be quite a while until I'm going to do it again. So yeah, I'm just going to chill, hand sew, and the next time that I will be filming will be the reveal shot, and I'm so excited. I'm really going to try and find a nice backdrop for it, and yeah, I love the drop and reveal shots, so I'm definitely going to do that. That was the whole process of me making the Folkwell quilt. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I absolutely adore the final quilt. I think it's so bold and striking, and I just love it so much. I would definitely recommend this pattern. it was actually my first quilt pattern that I bought and followed, and I would recommend it as your first quilt pattern as well. And I am now going to wash the quilt for the first time because I didn't pre-wash any of the fabric, so hopefully it'll kind of shrink and crinkle, and I just love that effect. So yeah, hopefully I will see you on my next video, which hopefully is going to be another sew along of another quilt. So if you want to see that, like and subscribe, and I will see you then. Bye!